Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to imagine waking up tomorrow morning, grabbing your phone from the nightstand, and seeing brand new money sitting securely in your account. And here's the kicker. It's not because you worked yesterday, not because you hustled, sold something, or picked up a brutal extra shift. It's just because you built something once, a long time ago, and it simply never stopped paying you. Now, I know that sounds like an absolute fantasy, right? Well, I'm here to tell you it is very real. It's what we call a perpetual money machine. Today, in this explainer, we're unpacking the exact blueprint to build a system that quietly generates cash for you long after you've clocked out for good. By the end of this, you're going to know the mechanics, the mindset, and the precise math you need to get started, and you can literally do it using less cash than you probably spend on a few iced coffees a week.
Let's start by painting a painfully relatable picture. You know the drill. You wake up at 7 a.m., you fight your way through an hour of gridlock traffic, you give 9 of the absolute best hours of your day to a job, then you come home, completely drained, and you're just too tired to do anything but scroll on your phone and eventually pass out. And tomorrow? Yep, you do it all over again. But here's the big question. What happens the exact second you stop trading your time? You see, that 7 a.m. grind isn't actually a lifestyle, it's a trade. You're trading your only truly non-renewable resource, your time, for money. And here's the terrifying reality of that setup. If you lose your job, or if you just decide, hey, I need a break, the money completely stops. The exact second you stop trading your time, the income just vanishes. That isn't financial freedom, guys. That's essentially a leash with a paycheck attached to it.
So what's the alternative? How do we actually break this cycle? Well, the wealthy figured something out a very long time ago, and it's not exactly something they put up on billboards. Instead of relying on that traditional trade, running on the hamster wheel, trading hours for dollars, they flip the entire script. They have their money trade time for more money. Think about that. You build a system where your money works for you. It just sits there, quietly pulling an infinite 24-hour shift. It works while you sleep. It works while you're on a beach vacation. And it works while you're just hanging out with your family.
This is the ultimate antidote to the time for money trap. We're talking about compound interest. It's basically a financial ecosystem where your money earns interest, and then, and this is absolutely crucial, that interest starts earning even more interest. It creates this absolute snowball effect of wealth. In fact, this concept is so fundamentally powerful that Albert Einstein reportedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. He supposedly said, "He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it." Now let me show you exactly why that title is definitely not an exaggeration. Let's ground this abstract concept in some reality, okay? We're going to look at a simple, very achievable starting investment of just $300 a month. For a lot of people, that's less than a standard monthly car payment. Now, we're going to assume you take that $300 and put it into a simple, diversified index fund that historically averages a 10% annual return, which is roughly what the broader market has returned over long historical stretches. So, $300 a month, you set it, forget it, and just let the market do its thing. What does that actually look like a few decades down the road?
Now, the math here is totally brilliant, but it's also exactly why most people fail. Let's look at year 5. You've put in 18 grand out of pocket, and the machine is worth about $23,000. Honestly, this right here is the trap. People look at that $5,000 gain, they get completely bored, assume the system just isn't working fast enough, and they pull their money out to, buy a jet ski. But hold on, look at year 15. You've contributed $54,000, but the machine is now worth $124,000. See? It's starting to pull away. By year 25, you've put in $90,000 and you're sitting on a massive $354 grand. And by year 30, the exponential growth has taken completely over. You've only contributed $108,000 of your own hard-earned cash, but the machine's value is an incredible $570,000. It massively rewards patience.
Seriously, by year 30, the sheer power of this system is just undeniable. Over 3 decades, you slowly, quietly contributed a total of $108,000 out of your own pocket. But the machine, it has exploded to a value of $570,000. Let that sink in for a second. You put in 108 grand, and the machine hands you back well over $500,000. That's not luck. It's not some hot stock tip from your neighbor. It is literally just math, patience, and time doing exactly what they always do when you leave them alone and stop interrupting them.
Okay, so you've spent 30 years building this $570,000 machine. Now what? How do you actually use it to replace your 7 a.m. grind? Enter the holy grail of financial planning, the 4% rule. This rule states that you can withdraw a tiny slice, just 4% of your total, each year to live on. Because the broader market historically outpaces that 4%, your machine essentially replenishes itself. It just keeps feeding you off its own momentum.
You never actually have to touch the original principal amount ever again.
Let's do the math on that 4% rule for our specific machine. 4% of your $570,000 portfolio equals about $22,800 a year. Break that down, and it means a tangible real-world paycheck of roughly $1,900 a month lands securely in your checking account every single month, forever. And you didn't have to clock in for a single minute of it. That is the money machine working in its final, fully operational form. That $1,900 a month is exactly what's sitting on the other side of those early, boring years when you felt like absolutely nothing was happening.
Now, let's have a massive reality check. The internet loves a good financial fantasy, but we always need to read the fine print. These numbers we're talking about, they're based on historical averages, not ironclad guarantees. The stock market doesn't just move in a straight line upward, it drops, and sometimes violently, like we all saw back in 2008 and 2020. Your personal, real-world results are going to depend heavily on what specific funds you invest in, the fees your broker charges, your tax bracket, and how well you diversify. So please, always remember this isn't personalized financial advice, and you really should consult a licensed advisor for your specific situation. The version of this machine that actually works in real life is the boring patient version, not the one promising you overnight riches.
All right, with the fine print out of the way, how do you actually build this thing? It really just comes down to a boring but brutally effective 4-step blueprint. You've got to secure cash, automate the process, diversify the risk, and relentlessly reinvest. Let's break down exactly what each of these steps requires from you to get this machine up and running from scratch.
First up, before you invest a single dime, save 3 to 6 months of living expenses in cold, hard cash. Why? Because when your car's transmission inevitably explodes, you use that cash. You do not sell pieces of your money machine in a panic. Second, pay your future self first through automation. Set up your account so that the very day you get paid, that $300 transfers automatically before you even see it. Do not rely on willpower, it's a trap. Third, diversify. Spread your risk across broad index funds and bonds. That way, if one bad company goes bankrupt, it doesn't destroy what you spent years building. And finally, step 4, reinvest every single dividend and cent of growth. Accept that the early years are supposed to be boring. Don't spend the dividends. Feed them right back into the machine to keep that compound interest snowball rolling.
Now here's a mathematical truth that might sting a little, depending on where you are in your journey. Time matters infinitely more than the dollar amount you invest. Let me say that again. Someone starting at age 20 with just $100 a month can easily outpace someone starting at 30 with $300 a month. Why? Because they gave their machine a 10-year head start to compound. The most valuable asset you have in building this system isn't cash, it's time. The best time to start was years ago. The second best time is today, right now, while you're watching this explainer.
The biggest takeaway I want you to have from this explainer is simple. Your money machine isn't some far-off dream that's only reserved for trust fund kids or lottery winners. It is literally nothing more than a spreadsheet, a plan, and time. That's the whole secret. But here's the hard truth of the matter. Absolutely nothing changes the moment this explainer ends. Tomorrow morning is going to look exactly like today unless you make a decision today. Your future self, 10 years down the road, is relying heavily on the version of you sitting here right now to simply stop waiting and start building.
So, as we wrap up this blueprint, I really want to leave you with one final question to chew on. What age are you starting yours? When are you going to draw a line in the sand, stop trading your one wild and precious life for an hourly wage, and finally start building your machine? Think about it. Go talk to an advisor. Make a solid plan. Take action. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep growing and keep investing. Catch you next time.